All right, guys, welcome to this week's ESPU Community Talks. Of course, this is episode 2. Last week, we talked about organisations. This week, it's going to be our topic. We're talking about the journey from AM to Pro within Call of Duty. We have our guest on this week. It's going to be Insight, a player who has somewhat made that journey. And we're going to be here getting his advice and his insight, if you'll pardon the pun, on the very topic. So, open it up straight away, Insight. What thoughts do you have? AM2 Pro, how hard is the journey? You've, again, somewhat made it yourself. I mean, how far would you say you are into it?
I don't know. To be honest, I'd say I'm only halfway there.
Right.
It's a lot harder than most people would actually think to become a pro. Back when I started playing Advanced Warfare, I didn't even know what Twitter was when I went to my first event, and I finished third, and apparently it was a big event with loads of competition. And
Right.
from there, it was good, and then 18 Plus came out, and it killed half the scene left, and now there's just what's left of it, I guess you could say. And now most of the under 18s have been forgotten about, and when they turn 18, they'll find it really hard to get back into where they were. I'm currently struggling to get back to where I was in AW, where I'd come online, I was in the top 3 team in Europe or something, won all the G-Finities and whatever online tournaments. So at the moment, it's just a steady process to try and get back to where I was.
All right, actually, that's a good thing that I wanted to bring up, actually. That first thing you just mentioned there about that 18-plus rule coming in at the beginning of Black Ops 3. Obviously, that came in with the transition over to the PlayStation, which was a leap I think most people were perfectly okay to make. I think we were quite tired of the Xbox One, but that's a different discussion for a different time. That 18-plus rule, to what extent, how do you think that impacted the community as a whole? Do you think there was a lot of young talent that was cut off at the legs there, or do you think it was kind of like the right move for the time, or in terms of maturing the esport, or
It killed off COD. Just killed it. Just literally slashed at the legs and went, here you go. Because back here, well, obviously there wasn't Cobble League back in Advanced Warfare and stuff, and there was just like AM to Pro events, your EGLs, whatever. And they were getting 100+ teams easily, and they were all under 18s that all just loved playing COD, getting on, just playing G-Finities and stuff. As soon as 18 Plus came out, I think nearly every single under 18 quit, apart from 8, 10 who are playing now, and that's it.
Yeah, because I definitely remember when I was still doing some work back in Black Ops 3. The age of players really that were coming into the scene or trying to at least make their way with that 18+ rule were significantly younger, like people who hadn't even had a taste of a LAN yet, like 14, 15-year-olds when I was first doing that kind of stuff. And now they're a lot older, and I'm borderlining on that 16, 17, nearly getting towards that 18 years old now. And I think for those people it wasn't necessarily a problem, but there's, like you mentioned, there's a lot of people now who are cut off at the legs who aren't necessarily, should we say, they're not competing anymore because of that 18+ rule. And obviously you're one of those people who was affected by that. So now you've come back, you're still trying to overcome that adversary, which is going to be getting back into that 18+ scene. What moves are you doing at the moment to try and get back in?
Well, start of the year, I got a team of basically, I guess you could say, the leftovers who couldn't get on a team with Defrag, Brain, Revolt. Leading up to Dallas, we were 6th in Europe. We were 40 pro points off 5th seed. And
Not bad.
we couldn't get an org to send us to Dallas, so we just lost out on about 2,000 points each and couldn't get a league spot. And then that spiraled out of control and people got offers and just took them and left. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to build myself up with foreign players, I guess you could say, who they've got a point to prove, they have a backing, they have organisations with funding and stuff like that. You just got to try and plant your seeds with people that you speak to at events and stuff.
Yeah.
Try and, I don't know, speak to people, I guess. That's what the under 18 should try to do now. They should try get into their little 18+ circles of people they speak to now. Come when they turn 18, they're good friends with them, so it's easier to get onto an 18+ team, which they'd be comfortable with.
Yeah.
They play better with because they're comfortable with the players they're playing around.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than turning 18 and then you throw yourself into a team where you don't like speaking to them, you've never spoke to these players before, then I guess you don't get nervous, but you don't want to disappoint because you don't really know them, and then it just leads to bad things.
Yeah, I get that.
I think that does happen now. To be fair, a lot of the under-18 players, at least the ones me and George speak to, they do mess with the over-18s a little bit. I think you talk about like Cryptic Gaming, for example, players of experience in the under-18 scene. I think you're friends with them. You've at least filled in a couple of times, and by extension as well to that end, OBN and Bulldog are also there, still in that circle. So yeah, I think that there is some, I guess, communication between the under-18s and the over-18s now. But yeah, that definitely needs improvement, because there's a hell of a lot of under-18s who just don't speak to any over-18s for that matter, and don't really prepare themselves for that transition. I think one of the players who I've noticed recently, he's been moving to over-18. He's been looking at it. Vipers. He's one of my closest friends in the under-18 scene, and he has had a real problem, I think, with talking about it. He didn't really know what to do, because halfway through the year, if you turn 18, you're not getting any points, and that's a big problem as well.
Yeah.
So, and that's a real topic I want to move on to, is with the pro points, with the CWL pro points, is that a problem, do you think, for transitioning from AM to pro? If you're halfway through the year and you're turning 18, you don't have any points. Is that a big issue?
Depends what you want to do, really. Like, if you want to play in these national leagues, you can get onto a team easily if you're friends with the people at the team, because as long as you don't get relegated from that national league spot, you have that spot. You can pick up. The leader can make free changes, get rid of his free players, and pick up whoever he wants. But if you're trying to qualify for champs and stuff like that, you have to have points to get into the losers, last chance qualifiers. And I think a lot of under-18s that I've been speaking to have just said, like, turn 18 in June. I'm just gonna carry on playing under-18 COD until the new COD comes out, or I'm just gonna chill for the summer, get a job or something, and then come back and play.
Yeah.
But pro points it's a good and bad system. I don't agree with the pro point ladder at all, because you just waste so much time. There's people that go into the lobbies purposely and just reset the lobby, keep resetting it, so you have to sit there for about an hour and a half before you play a map. And before you know it, you've sat playing GBs for 6 hours a day and you can't scrim.
Yeah.
Hate it. But then we don't have a lot of 2Ks now. We have one in March, and then we don't have any in April. So people turn 18, then they can't get points unless they're playing the GBs, and they don't get much from GBs.
No, it's minimal, the amount you get from GBs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tedious. And then like people that go to events that manage to get funding, fair enough, you manage to get funding. They go, they play, and there's some teams that can't go, like, for example, Delio, Sunny B, and that. They can't go, they're missing out on points. And then there's teams that get funding for free. Fair enough, and then they get 2,000 pro points. They've just gained, as a team, 8,000 pro points or something closer to a team that's above them that can't get funding. It's just all up in the air about these global events. It's not fair, really, on players.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I just wanted to actually, when you said earlier about you not being able to get funding, and even though you're like a top 6 team in Europe, to go to Dallas, and you obviously have got the instance with Sonny at the moment not being able to get that funding to go to Atlanta. This is a huge thing. Do you think that, obviously, I definitely know this to be the case. It's always been the case with Call of Duty, because simply of European players don't get the same results as North American players. But do you think, like, is it viable for like should we say like a second tier organization? I was trying to think of an example, like not necessarily like a Detroit Renegades, because they're reasonably like upper echelon, but like a team immunity kind of thing, or like an AGO sort of organization to send these teams to an event? Or do you think the reason why we're just getting European teams don't necessarily get as much funding as such is just because we're discriminated against, because we're not known traditionally to be as good at the esport as US teams?
I think it's to do with personal branding.
Right.
If you look at the foreign organisations, the foreign players, they're all like they're affiliated with Scuff. They've got like their own branding. So when you go into an organisation, like us European players, like English players, we go to an org and say, yeah, look, we're a top 6 team in Europe. And then the org will go, all right, so what's your stream like? You stream often, you put YouTube videos up and stuff, and then you go, no, we don't do that. We just play COD. And just get online, we play COD, and that's what we do. And then the org's like, well, we kind of want a social media presence, and then we want to be able to speak to sponsors and advertise you as players and stuff. There's a lot more business to it rather than just pure skill, because I personally think Europeans on par with these North American teams. I mean, you've seen it with
for sure.
like Spice and Red Reserve and stuff like that. Epsilon or Fabi, Black Ops finishing 4th at Champs. well, we're way up there with them, but sometimes you can't justify spending £4,000 on four players that have got a combined total of 8,000 followers on Twitter. Some of them aren't active, just to take the chance that they could maybe get into the league, and then if they don't, then you've just wasted your money. You got to try and get that back from somewhere, and you can't really get it from the players because they don't advertise or stream or do anything for the org. That's a big thing that no one in the English scene does. They don't brand themselves and don't stream as often as they should. And stuff like that.
Yeah, that is one thing that I've noticed actually, and there is like a handful of people who are attempting to do that, I suppose. Like if you look in Europe, we've got Tommy really is like our figurehead at the moment who does all the streaming, is competing at all the events and everything like that. He's extremely popular in Europe at the moment. Like obviously Copley gets his bullying total for the month from Tommy as well, so like that's always a good bit of fun. And it's good that we're starting to get now people who do stream have a combined following, have a brand for themselves, like Copley. Like I suppose even HeyJ is trying to do the same thing at the moment, and obviously Tommy. But then, like you say, it does create a bit of a void, a bit of a gap in the market for those who don't. And do you feel like if you are putting all that time into playing and you're not necessarily having a stream or any personal brand, do you think that affects you? That affects your play at all? If you have to dedicate some time to personal play in order to personal stream in order to get funding for an organization for a LAN or something like that?
It's a tough one because like being a pro player and you come on and practice a lot, you don't really have time to just whack a stream on, oh, here's me practicing here, look at what I do, here's what my team do, break this hill. The only time you really have to stream is like after you scrim, so like 10 o'clock, 10 to like 2 in the morning, that's about it, or maybe before you scrim. So it's quite hard to balance it. And in terms of just personal stream, it probably would make you worse if you're trying to focus on your stream as well as trying to play, because you're trying to balance two things when you're really good at one thing and you're probably really bad at the other. Like if I want to start streaming and do things like that, but at the moment there's just content for COD is quite boring.
Stale, yeah.
Like I could put a stream on for me 5 pro points and then people can sit there and watch me put my feet on my desk and listen to music and shoot people, but people wouldn't find that interesting. Because when my team play pro points, we don't jump in the call, we don't speak to each other and stuff like that, because it just brings the mood down. Sat here playing something you don't want to play, and then kind of get annoyed of each other trying to sit. That's my idea anyway. That's what we do anyway.
All right,
might be different.
Going off the back of that, then, what is an interesting thing that we've actually discussed? Myself and Brody have discussed this before, and we were discussing a similar system. Like we were discussing it with someone. I can't remember who we were discussing it with the other day, but do you think this whole global pro league, CWL, pro points seeding crap, all this? Personally, I think it's all trash. I think it's so aimed at just getting the people who are already on top to stay on top. It doesn't really allow for much filtration of talent up through, because obviously the whole national circuit's supposed to try and do that, but I'm still skeptical about how well that's going to work. Do you think it's even a viable model for trying to use Call of Duty esports? Is for like trying to franchise, or well, not necessarily franchise, but make Call of Duty esports on the same tier as, like, say, Counter-Strike or something like that? Because personally, I don't think it's a particularly good model.
If you look at things like CSGO, they're all regional.
Yeah.
They have so many different regional events going on at one point. You come on Twitch every day and there's like a Polish event going on, you've got a French event going on, you've got an event going on in North America at the same time. And this global pro league, so like these under 18 players are really good, they come up, they get into an 18 plus team, and then you try and sell an organization like, we need £5,000 worth of funding, we need £600 a month salary. He's won 17 ESPU tourneys and he's won this many playoffs. You'll go, okay, how's he done at a global event? And it's just so hard to get yourself over there.
Yeah.
It's crucial that if they were going into the new game, that you sort an organization that will just say, look, we'll fund you to all these events. And if you start doing well and stuff, we'll start paying you this amount, whatever. And that's what I did wrong. I had offers at the start of the year, and it was just like, we'll send you to all the events. We won't pay you or like that, but we'll make sure you get to every one. And I said, me being a little bit arrogant, like, no, I'm better than that. I deserve funding, being paid and stuff. And then it left me in a big pit of hell.
Yeah.
I couldn't get out.
Yeah, I suppose a lot of the things with these COD players as well, from my point of view, is that with how little people tend to know about how to really get into that pro scene, which is the whole point of this podcast today, but how little people know in terms of getting into it. For me, it's difficult to understand. If I was a youth player just turning 18, like next year or this year or something like that, like I am doing, and I'd be like, well, I want to get into playing 18 plus LAN COD, and I want to make it to be a professional COD player. It's a strange aspiration to have. It's a realistic aspiration to have. But if you're already in a position and you've already got the skill to do so, then it's for me. I would have no idea how to go about it. For me, what my logic would be to try and ASLIC as many 18 plus players as possible, or to try and get on a team. And that would be. It almost seems like that's the only way, because you don't get noticed. There's like a huge gaping Trump-Mexico wall between under 18 players and 18 plus players. I don't really see much crossover. Want to know what you think about that.
Yeah, I guess in a sense you do need to bomb lick the better players. Otherwise, they just won't give you the time of day. They won't speak about you. And if you beat them, it's just, oh yeah, whatever. You're still bad. Shut up. Go
Trash
away.
online kind of thing.
Yeah. Whatever. I don't really care. You have to get in them circles, and you have to speak to people. Or if you're not going to do that, you at least have to put a stream on for your tournaments that you're playing and stuff like that, so people can actually see your gameplay and go, hang on, that's a smart play. Oh, that's a good. Oh, he's pretty good. That's what I wish I did in AW, because I would have had loads of people watching in AW, and me and my XL team would come online and we would just won every single tournament for like a month and a half straight. You would pull like 400 viewers, and wish I did it. And that's what I'm telling some under 18s to do. Like, look, put streams on, do this, do that. You've got to do it, otherwise you just won't get anywhere. Because you've got the higher ups in the scene now, these pro players at the very top in the global pro league.
Yeah.
And they don't give much people the time of day unless you know them and you've beat them. I don't know, unless you speak to them at events quite a lot and you're good pals with them.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that. Like Halley, for example.
Yeah.
Back in Advanced Warfare, he was probably the best under 18 player there was.
Mm-hmm.
He was, if he was 18 going to Black Ops 3, he'd probably been on a team like Epsilon and stuff like that, because he was really good pals with B Sport. Got on, he was picking up for their team all the time and stuff like that. But obviously, since then he's fallen away from them, and now he doesn't have
that footing.
Yeah, that footing in the door. Just walk in.
Yeah, I think actually I was talking to Hallie about this previously. I think I might have spoken to you about it as well, Brody. Is that ever since Gizmo's now gone from the team, Hallie said that he might be taking a little bit of a break, along with the rest of the Cryptic guys, just away from the youth scene for a while and then come back when they're all 18. Because he's saying if he can do it when they're all 18, and obviously you've played with Dutain and stuff before, then they stand a better chance if they can do it together. And I completely agree with that sentiment. It is just difficult, though, in that regard. You've kind of got to really brute force your way in. If you're gonna, he's basically trying to do like getting into the 18 plus scene on Nightmare mode. If he wants to try and stick in with like a bunch of under 18 players who are all turning 18 at the same time with him, or who all want to stick together and try and do it themselves together. Like, I'm absolutely positive that they can do it, but it is just so difficult in the current climate of Call of Duty to try and make that a viable option. Whereas within Counter-Strike, you have this kind of like most of the good players, like young players, come up through ESEA, get into rank S, whatever. Individuality basically gets you through. Yeah. You don't get through on a team. Or you come into FPL, you get on a team like ROPS, example. But then when you get to that point, you go through this ridiculous trial by fire, which is where you're accused of cheating, you're accused of hacking, you're accused of like just being good online until you can do it at LAN. And I'm pretty certain like there's going to be the whole ordeal with, now we've got this new generation, new wave COD players coming up. It's going to be exactly the same thing with these as well. I just wanted to get your views on like the actual hardships faced in terms of like a community reception to you as you're coming into an 18 plus scene, because that's truly going to be one of the hardest things. If you're going to be put on like a massive stream, say your first game, you're like low seed in a tournament, but your first game against Optic Gaming, like you're going to get grilled if you've never been seen on a stream before.
Yeah, the COD scene, they don't like new people coming into the scene. Well, the European scene anyway. if you look at the North American scene and you look at the people that have come in this year, you look at people like TJ Halley, you look at Duke, Temp, them type of players.
But again, all those people did have a foot in the door in Advanced Warfare, didn't they?
They had their foot in the door in Advanced Warfare, and they never lost that respect from the higher ups in the scene. They always had that foot in the door, and as soon as they come 18, the North Americans knew that is good talent. I want that talent. He's on my team. But in Europe, we're the complete opposite. We don't have respect for players. We don't show respect. We don't want to give people chances because that might damage my chances of getting somewhere. And it's just, it's just a big, massive snake fest.
I mean, to be fair, at the moment, the only successful, I guess, story of an under 18 player coming into the over 18 scene with the Europe this season has been Nathan. And that has not gone well at all. He's recently just straight up quit. This is actually today. This is a story come out today where he's just completely quit and had none of it with Epsilon going to an event. So that does not help by any means. When you've got a player who is like that, who, to be fair, has been around in the under 18 scene for quite some time and has been there waiting to go up. When you've got someone like that who just quits, so that is not a good situation. It doesn't help at all. But maybe I think that's maybe their point is that European players, and I don't know if this is the same for APAC as well, because I know that a lot of the APAC talent in the Asia Pacific region was under 18 when the Black Ops 3 rule came into effect. So maybe that's some of the point here is maybe the over 18 players should start looking to the youth scene, for example, just for talent, looking at it ahead of time and going, actually, maybe we should start looking towards Bulldog, OBN, Cryptic for these players, because at some point, like yourself, they're going to come up and be sort of hidden talent, if you will.
Yeah, they should, but they won't. That's literally the bottom line. They should, but they won't. They'll just stick to their inner circle of players that are in the pro scene right now, and they'll just keep recycling.
Yeah.
Keep making new teams. That team won't work. They'll just recycle another player in. Maybe one or two players will break into the scene, like Nathan or Shawnee last year, and stuff like that. But other than that, they just keep recycling. They keep recycling, and then like these big organizations come over the seas, like Renegades and organizations like that, and they pick up this team that are recycled players. They've all got good accolades. They're all good players. Don't get it twisted. And then they won't perform, and then that org will go, I ain't going back to Europe.
Yeah.
I ain't going back to COD. That's another organization gone. Like Black Ops 3, you had, what was it, Cloud9.
Oh yeah, that was huge as well. Having those orgs coming in.
Yeah, massive orgs coming in, and then it just flopped, and then they just went, see you later.
It's like Fnatic as well this year.
Yeah, Fnatic.
I mean, that's pretty sure that's just because the Citadel was getting a lot worse. Like, if you look at it in Black Ops 3, Black Ops 3 Citadel was amazing. It was brilliantly done. We didn't need the LAN League, to be quite frank. The online league then was actually better than the LAN League.
It's just because with the online league, you had way more hours of viewership. You had way more hours of viewership, more hours of exposure and stuff like that. I remember watching for me, the best time we had in Call of Duty esports in terms of viewership point of view, and for new talent coming through, was Advanced Warfare. It wasn't the best game by any means, but it was the best for new talent. It definitely was one of the best for viewership, because I remember watching like MLG Season 3. To think we had 3 seasons of leagues throughout like that one game is nuts. But to think that they were all online matches to one massive playoff, it was like actually really good. And it's like when you have ESL Pro League in Counter-Strike, right? We've gone through 7 seasons of that now. And we have like a new season every couple of months, basically. So we're still cycling through, making sure that the standings and the winners are all very well updated, etc. And I don't think online leagues are particularly a problem. I think what CWL saw was they saw E-League and saw they run a LAN league, a bi-weekly LAN league, and it all amounts into a massive playoff. And they're hugely successful in their first and second season and their premiere. Why don't we do that? It just doesn't work for COD because it's not a big enough esport to warrant flying a team out all the way to Columbus every other week to only send them back home again if they don't qualify, or go back out there and just face the humiliation. So for me, I don't see Call of Duty as a format that needs that LAN league, like you were saying. I don't think.
Yeah, and it doesn't help the regional aspect either. To be fair, I mean, you have to think the focus regional wise when it comes to Global Pro League is so small. You have like 4 or 5 European teams, if that now, because Epsilon will probably drop out. One single APAC team. The focus on the region is so bad, and there's no room for growth within the region, and that's ultimately why the scene will probably die. Not gonna lie, however depressing it is and however negative it is.
I saw someone tweet the other day actually that we're going down the Halo route, which really
Oh
concerns
yeah.
me.
I mean, to be fair, we wouldn't be though if we had the right structure there. If we had the same structure as CWL and Black Ops 3, we'd be perfectly fine. And to be fair, there is still structure for under 18 players to come up. It's just people actually have to start looking there. For example, the youth leagues. People actually started looking in those places. That would be good. I mean, Bulldog, when we were talking about them the other day, they pushed Watson's team to a map 3. In the ESPU tournament. So to be fair,
searched, though, so.
Yeah. To be fair though, it's a map, and it's still they were running on level with them, on par with them in the hardpoint and in the CTF. So not the CTF. Sorry, not the CTF.
It's like a 6-0 and they all left. Like that's what happened.
In the hardpoint, but not in the CTF. And to be fair, I'm pretty sure they didn't have all 4 players.
No, they didn't.
I remember.
That's
Yeah.
true.
So. I think there is definitely structure there for it to work still, but on the highest level, Call of Duty just isn't working right now, and I think it's really affecting that transition from AM to Pro. There's something missing. I think there's a level missing where we have the Global Pro League and then the national circuit, and then way below that the youth leagues. I think there's something missing in between there. People aren't looking for that because there isn't really a way to look for it. There's no reason for people to look at the youth leagues for talent because why would you? It's fine, it's great for us to say it because obviously we've seen it, we know that there is talent there, but there isn't a reason for people to look at it because they don't know it exists.
Yeah, exactly that. No one's gonna look at it because they don't need to. Why would they? They've already. It's just how it is, man.
It just kind of bothered me though because I know I get the point that you're saying about there needs to be something, a conduit, a level in between to look for youth players, etc. But I think the whole law or the rule around the 18+ rule comes from a publishing issue or something about.
There is a rule for it.
There's definitely some sort of legal. I think it's like a gambling or rating law or something like that about the game being rated 18+, and. I don't think you can. I think it's literally what it is down to. It's down to those players who are under that age to create that structure for themselves. And although that, you can't compare this to another esport at that point. You can't compare that to Counter-Strike at this point because you got to look at that and you got to look at it and you got to think, oh, Counter-Strike's got like a 12 rating or something like that. So that can have 12-year-olds competing in ESEA main. It's insane, really. So I don't know what exactly the solution that we've got to have there is, but I'll leave that one for you to discuss. I need to go close my door real quick.
I don't think there is necessarily anything you can do in terms of changing the rule for 18+. I think it is always going to be 18+ now, and we have to deal with that. However, there needs to be something. And to be fair, I think as long as the youth leagues grow in some way, we might be all right. But obviously, we could go down the Halo route, and that would not be good in any way. But let's just kind of hope we don't.
I mean, there is fucking online tournaments that are doing it right. Like you have the esports universe, you have the ES Hub tourney, and you have CMG and people like that are trying to pump out tourneys and on a regular basis for people to go and play. But it's just getting people to play them because at the moment I think it's just like under 18s that play in them tournaments, and then you have the odd 18+ team that might come over and play. And I think it's because these tournaments are being pumped out, but they're always on days where people like 18+ teams are they have their league games or national league games, or they're out in America. There's the event going on, or 2K going on. I'd like to play in these under 18 leagues and stuff. The only reason I can do it at the moment is because there is no 2Ks for me to play, and I only have my national league games, which are on Saturdays or Fridays or whenever, and it doesn't really conflict much. But I think it's hard because they do want to put them on weekends. I understand because people work and they have school and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and it's hard to balance them. But it would be great if they were on different dates for people to come over and play as like an 18+ team, because I reckon you'd see so many more 18+ teams coming into these tournaments and playing, and you'd see a high level competition. And then like when the Watson and that came in and I was playing with under 18s, they were like, wow, I've never had practice like this before. Never had teams coordinate nades on me like that before. Because they're under 18 team. I said it to him. I said, you guys don't know how to play, and it's not your fault. It's simply down to you don't get the practice that we get on the 18 plus level. So like when we play you, we're almost laughing at you because of what you're doing, but it's not your fault. You just don't know what to do. Like when me and my team play, it's always before we go into a hill, it's throw 3 nades at where that power position is. Take them out of the power position, you break the whole setup. Under 18s, it's more just kill, run.
Yeah.
Throw a nade by yourself, make them weak and stuff like that.
It's a very single-minded kind of like egocentric approach to the game. Whereas when you're playing at your level or a higher level, it's at least, I wouldn't say it's a very tactical level, but it's at least got some tactical depth to it, right?
Yeah,
there at least is some depth, some strategy, and I think that's one thing that I'd really like to see, like what you just said there about having 18 plus teams coming into these tournaments, playing against these youth players, because not only does that, like, I think you get to a point, which is I think what Bulldog and Cryptic had reached like last season, where you've just hit a ceiling. You've just hit a ceiling there, and that is where you cannot immeasurably improve any beyond that point, because you're just playing against youth competition.
To beat them all the time.
Yeah, exactly. To get better, you need to play against better competition, and I think that's just a fact. And I think that's like that process works so well for like matchmaking games, like ranked play. You get better and you play against better competition, etc. You play League of Legends, you go up your ranks, you play against better competition, you get better, and you carry on progressing up and up and up and up. And I think you learn from your mistakes in that regard. But when you're carrying on making those mistakes against the same opposition who don't punish you for it, I think that's where it really comes to hurt. And I think that's possibly a reason why we don't see so many people from that 18 plus scene looking down towards these youth players and stuff. Because I remember when we were looking at the stream, when we were doing Val playoffs, Brody, we had Swanee. Swanee came into the stream, and he was sitting in there chilling for basically most of it. I was checking on the view account to see if he was still in there, and I tweeted at him the next day, and he said it's good to see that under 18s have still got something to play for. Not to see that there's like talent or anything under the and this is no criticism against Swanee or anything, but I just think it's kind of representative of the mindset that people have towards under 18 players at this point. Like, not scouting talent anymore. When things get dire in a Counter-Strike team, you look towards FPL or you look towards Rank S. When things got dire in C9, you picked up Stewie 2K. This was a guy who was doing nothing no one else was, pushing through smokes like a moron and getting frags as a result. If you're Mouse Sports and you're in Tatters, you look at an Estonian player called Rops. Like, we don't have that in Call of Duty. At the moment, you're looking at, well, I suppose you're looking at National Circuit as your next step down, really.
Yeah, and a lot of the National Circuit players don't have much respect from the pro players or whatever, so it's just like, I think the only league that has a lot of respect is either the English league or the top Spanish teams with like Giants and stuff. They have a lot of respect from the English players. But yeah, there's a lot of English teams I respect because you have the people like PE, Ryan's team, you have your Sunny Bees and stuff like that. They're all really good friends with all the pros in the scene. But yeah, another thing that's killed COD is killing things like the Spanish Pro League that was going on.
LPL.
They brought in like 50,000 viewers plus, just with all the Spanish fans and stuff like that. And honest to God, you should see the passion the Spanish fans have for COD and the French fans and stuff, because there's players on Cryptic like Detain and Halley. They went over Black Ops 3 to play in the league, and they were Wizards, big massive Spanish org, and like after they got pumped by Giants, they had all the Giants fans coming over, shaking their hand and asking for signatures and getting pictures with them and stuff, and you had to go sit in the booth and sign loads of stuff. It's crazy. And then COD just come in and went, "You're not doing that this year. Go away."
Yeah.
And it just blows my mind. Like, who sits around the table and goes, "You know what? They're bringing in viewers to COD. Goodbye." It blows my mind.
It's so counterintuitive, isn't it? It is so counterintuitive. It's like, if you look at, I think one thing I've always criticised Call of Duty for having is such a stale player base, and especially such a stale fan base as well. Is like, if you were to do a survey of the concentration of fan base, what percentage would you say are Optic fans?
Too many. To be
a
quite
lot.
frank.
Give me like
But
a rough percentage.
to be fair, Optic did help build.
Optic
a
did
lot
help
of the
build Call of Duty as a
fan base,
dynasty.
so I wouldn't be
I'm
too.
not shitting on them at all for anything like that. But like my point is like it shows just how much the work that Optic did to get to that point is so beneficial. If you had another org like who did what Optic did at the same time, we'd probably be twice as big. You'd have twice the viewership, etc. Because what I did when I wanted to get into competitive COD in Black Ops 2 is I started playing Black Ops 2 pubs and I was like, oh, what's this league play? What's this league play stuff? I want to go and watch some more stuff about this. I really enjoy playing this. So I scroll down Twitch, and what do I see at the top? I see Nade Shot. Of course I see Nade Shot at the top, and I'm like, oh, that's an interesting stream. So I tune into Nade Shot for a while, and I'm like, I want to see what other pro players there are. So I scroll down, find Clayster. I'm a Clayster fan now. I find TP, I find Merc on Envious and JCap and all this sort of stuff. I'm like, what happened to this? And back then it was just people competing, and anyone could compete, and you got all these young players streaming off their 360s on the Black Ops 2 stream to Twitch little thing that you could do and everything, and it was thriving back then. I don't think you can really even argue that fact. But now I just think I look back at those days and I think you're looking at COD on Twitch. It's not even top 5 anymore. It used to be consistently top 5, and now we're not even in like the top 20 games.
Yeah, it's sad. It really is sad. It's all because of like organisations having rights to doing this, and then they can kill off everyone else trying to do it as well. And like MLG buy all the rights to, streaming COD, having COD, doing this with COD, and then that obviously, like as I said earlier, the Spanish scene go away, the French scene they go away, they can't do anything, that country can't do anything. If you want to compete, you've got to get funding to come to America. We'll have one European event, and it really is bad. There's
no motivation for it. There's no reason
I
to
definitely
play.
think there's no motivation for especially European
one,
COD.
like you literally just mentioned it, one European event, and it's not even a European event. It's a GPL event where you'll get American teams coming over and winning the event. I'm not saying Splice won't win it or Red Reserve won't win it, but they do have a chance to do so. But the likelihood of it is that some team, TK, Rise, Optic will come over and win it. And there's nothing for Europeans to win. We don't have Insomnia, or we do, but we don't have Insomnia at a level where it's just a European event. We don't have an EGL. We don't have Gfinity. We don't even have AMG Pro. There's literally nothing to play for if you're a European team. The only thing you can play for now is online tournaments and online leagues. While they are there, to be fair, why would you? Again, it's come back to a question where 18 plus players just don't look at it. They don't know it exists. They don't care, despite the fact that there's probably more of a prize pool available to them in the online leagues now than there is if you were just competing in the CWL alone. But if you just go for the national circuit, you earn, I think it's like 1,000 if you win it. I might be right.
$1,000 between the team and full funding.
Yeah, exactly. Which is less than you would earn if you were to compete across all. I don't know how many leagues is it. We have 3 leagues per quarter. So about 10, 12 leagues per season, which is about $20,000.
You could earn that in one league, though, couldn't you?
You could earn enough, more or less, playing in the online leagues than you could playing as an 18-plus player at this point. Or at least if you were good enough to win them, which, to be fair...
I almost don't doubt that any 18-plus player would probably completely hand these...
Yeah, the way we looked at like Watson's team coming in and playing the ESPU last week.
What I don't understand about that is some people got really rattled up about that. Some people got really riled up, like building that Trump-Mexico wall even higher, like especially on the youth side of things. Like if you're looking at the USA being like the 18-plus scene and then the youth scene being Mexico, right? If you're
Why
looking,
are they coming in and playing my tournament?
Yeah, exactly. Why are you coming into my country and playing my tournaments? This is a youth tournament, mate. It's open to anyone who wants to compete. If you're going to go with that mentality, then get Genesis off a Bulldog because he's like 19 or something.
Yeah, he's 19. I don't know.
This man.
People complain. This is what's wrong with the COD scene. They sit here and they go, "Oh, well, I don't have anyone to play against. I don't have good practice." And then, like you said, that Watson's team will come in and play, and then they'll go, "Why are they in here? They don't normally play in here. I don't want to play against them. Oh, I've just been smoked by them." And then you had the team that was playing against them before Bulldog, was it, or after? I can't remember. And they were just trying to trick shot them, and they were just
that was Plasnight.
That was the Plasnight roster.
That was Plasnight.
They did well to get that far, to be fair.
I was just sat there. I was thinking to myself, why are you not going for it? Why are you not trying to win? Why Why are you just taking the Michael out of it and just, oh, I'm just gonna watch this, boys. Gonna put my sense in 14.
Just spin
What's the
about with
point?
a sniper. Oh, it's just...
Yeah, you might as well just leave and just go find a new hobby. Go get a job or something, man.
Yeah. I think there's a lack of a will to learn as well. I think the way you specifically said it was that when you were playing under 18 players, the fact that you knew what to do, you need to throw three nades at a power position and then break a hill like that. The fact that under 18 players don't learn that, they don't want to learn that. They just want to play run and gun and break hills by making power plays. It's
Raw gun
not
skill,
really. Yeah, exactly. You need to practice, you need to learn, and to be fair, I think coaches could really benefit a lot of under 18 teams.
Oh, that's another discussion.
But the amount of times I've had discussion with players about coaches, and they just said we don't need them. Like, it would benefit them a lot.
A lot of people are narrow-minded. Like, I'm sometimes like that. Maybe it's because I've just turned 18, a little bit stubborn sometimes. When teammate goes, "Why have you made that play?" and I'll just sit there and go, "Well, I got a kill, so why does it matter?" And then the bigger picture, if I was like sat in that corner and waited, and then my team push up around me, we get more than just one kill, and then
get
maybe four of us still alive.
Flag pull, something like that. Yeah.
That's when you look at teams like your Bulldog and Cryptic and your under 18 team. The only reason they're demolishing your OBNs, teams like that, is simply because they're just better. Individually, they're just better.
And, well, they don't necessarily even have more team play at that point. It's just they genuinely are just like better.
You've got your Keza KBs running to hill, getting a 4-piece every time, and then your Genesis and stuff like that just sat there going, "Nice, Kez, well played." He runs into the next hill, and then someone else gets a 3-piece, and you go, "Nice, good stuff, man." But like when you play against 18+ teams, they'll trade them kills. Someone walks in the hill, and the most they'll get is 2, maybe 2 kills.
Takes some real effort to get a 3-piece or something like that. Like yeah. I think I agree with that sentiment. Yeah. So we'll carry on with that in just a second. I just wanted to quickly ask the chat before we're going to spare probably our last question here. Just to, if anyone has any questions in chat, just go ahead and ask them. We've got Insight here, we've got myself and Brody as well. If you have any questions about last week or next week's episode that are coming up, or anything about Esports Universe, or anything about Insight, or anything about 18+ scene, throw them at us while we just finish this one up. So we were just talking about that, and you were just saying about the trading of kills and stuff like that. Like, do you really think that team play plays as much? Is that where the gap lies between 18+ and youth? Do you think?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. The under 18s, they've got the skill. Like, I highly respect like people like Keza and Iviana and stuff like that. I think they're great players, but it's just the ceiling between like 18+ and under 18s is massive, because just I don't know, just their will to learn as an 18+ player compared to like under 18s is massive. Like the 18+ players, when they play a scrim or like when they play a massive tourney, they'll record their gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
Then every map you go back as a team and you watch and you sit there and you say, why have you done that then? Or like when under 18s argue about someone, they're like, oh, you made a bad play here, there's no evidence to back it up, and then they go, no, I made a good play there. Whereas if you have it recorded, you go on, you literally look and you go, that's you there sprinting into hill when I said wait, so why'd you do that? And then you go, oh yeah, you got me, yeah, whatever, I want to do it again. And that's how you learn. You just have to critique each other and stuff like that. But speaking to the under 18 players like you Cryptic, since Gizmo left, they're just fed up of having no competition, and like they can't get an adequate fourth that they'd feel is good enough to be there.
Yeah.
So that's why they say they want to take breaks and stuff.
That's what I was talking to Hallie about. He said he doesn't want to really compete unless he's just playing like consistent best of 5 series against Bulldog in finals. Like, yeah. It's like, what is the point of having to go through a playoff bracket where you're playing like people who don't have an organisation, or just some youth players who no one's heard of as of yet, who've just managed to eke their way into a 32-team playoff bracket? Yeah. When you're actually guaranteed to end up in finals against Bulldog, basically at any given point. So we'll just see if we got any questions that's just popped up there. I think we're already at like 40 minutes and 50 minutes in this podcast now since the stream went live. So we've been here a while. So we'll just see if anyone.
I don't think anyone's actually asked any questions.
It's just general banter in the stream chat.
which is fun. Last week we had like 5, 6, 7 questions come up.
I know.
We're not getting any this week. How are you?
Oh,
well,
yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
It would be better if you guys had some questions.
Yeah, I don't think it's anything to worry about. We can roll off these questions. So we'll tie it up there. We've been going for a while now. We've been up for about 52 minutes or something like that. So we'll just quickly do all the necessary plugs for the Esports Universe. Obviously, the wonderful people who make this podcast happen, give us the graphics and everything in the stream key, and the ability, the platform to have people like Insight to give their insight on the stream and to give their insight about different things as well. Obviously, last week we had Davey. A couple of weeks' time, we may be having some other people as well. So make sure to stay tuned for that. We've got other podcasts coming over the course of the next couple of weeks. Also, we've got some great tournaments on Esports Universe, some big announcements and stuff coming soon, and obviously there's the whole Esports Universe credits kind of thing, points I think it's called, something like that. So make sure to go and check for those on your account or something like that. And if anyone else has anything to say in here now, if you've got any final words, insight for like the community, or any like parting words, parting wisdom, go ahead and throw it out now. If you don't, and that's fine.
Speechless.
Study hard, kids.
Study hard, stay in school.
Study hard, stay in school, don't play COD.
Yeah. All right, well,
guys.
We're wrapping
don't
up
trigger
there.
Anyone.
We're wrapping up there, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys very much for watching, as always, today. And we'll be back sometime next week, I'm guessing, with another one of these. So thank you, as always, for watching. This will be uploaded to the Esports Universe channel shortly, I'd imagine, on YouTube. So go check that out if you missed it, or you know anyone who missed it who wanted to watch. So we'll check it out, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.